Hey, it's Eric Hultgren. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. On this episode, we're talking to Joe Gavitt. He is in charge of the construction end of Eastbrook Homes. And we're going to be talking about remodeling versus starting over. Perhaps you've been living in your house for 170 days and you want to make a change, but you're not really sure if that remodel is going to be right for you. And maybe it's time to start from scratch. Let's find out next on the podcast. And my guest today, Joe, is from Eastbrook Homes. And Joe, for people who may not necessarily know how Eastbrook Homes is constructed, we've been talking to a lot of agents, and you have a very different job. Can you talk about what you do in a day-to-day construction sense for Eastbrook Homes?
So basically, I oversee 5 to 6 construction managers who they are looking at the daily process of how things are going forward with each individual build. They're handling anywhere from 15 to 30 homes at any given time. We try not to overwhelm them too much, but from time to time, it just depends on the community. You know what I mean? Sometimes in Rockford or DeWitt or something like that, if you have a hot community, you're going to be buried with a lot of work. The guys are very talented individuals that are out there in the field. They're able to multitask, but I'm overseeing those guys to make sure that they're doing the job properly, give them a little guidance here and there to make sure that we're not losing any time and it's going as seamless as possible. Of course, you have hiccups from time to time, but we're just trying to be, masters of what we can and handle anything that's, any back ordered parts or product or anything like that and deal with it the best way possible.
All right, so I have a bunch of questions for you. I am located in Rockford, so I'm very familiar with how busy you are up here. But what you and I were talking about before we hit record was we're at about the 172-day mark in our prospective basements or wherever we're working from home or educating from home. And there's been this theme in these podcasts about you spend so much time in your house, and probably when you started or you purchased your home or whatever, you had a view of that home and you would leave from 8 to 5 and you'd come back and you'd sort of deal with the things that drove you crazy because you weren't really there that much. And now you're there literally all the time. And those things start to drive you crazy in and out. And we're coming out of a summer season where a lot of people had taken what they were going to use for spring break and put it into home remodeling projects. And if they haven't got there because of, to your point you said a second ago, obviously with some logistics, there's been some issues getting things like windows or decking or whatever to get those projects done. One of the things that people might want to consider before they enter into construction projects for this home for the fall or the winter is maybe starting over, Joe, right?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you got to worry about product costs, material costs. We just found out yesterday as a builder who have locked rates with these different providers of materials that we were going to be up, incrementally compared to what we have been in the past as far as, the increase in price on a stud was $2 per stud. Increase on a 4x8 sheet of plywood was up $10. We're running into shortages on deck material, any treated material. So the Joe Blow off the street coming to do a deck remodel is not going to be able to get that product right now. They're saving the product for the big builders and their big money makers, basically. So you're not able to kind of do a DIY project.
And which puts us squarely back in the maybe it's time to look. And as I said a second ago, I'm here in Rockford. You guys have a couple of projects going on, one just up the street from me that seems like, and I say this to everybody when I talk to them from Eastbrook Homes, the work that you guys do and the speed by which you do it to quality is nothing short of spectacular. And so I have not had a chance to talk to you prior to this, Joe, but you are kind of like the ground floor of getting that scalability to work. Can you talk about how you guys are able to do that at the speed and scale by which you are adding either whole new neighborhoods like you are up the street here or adding to existing communities?
So basically it all kind of starts at the ground level in the design studio. Of course, you have the salespeople who are very good at what they do and they give you what you need and get the client what they need up front before they get involved with the building process. And they're kind of understanding what the duration is going to be up front. And then when they get down in the design studio, they go through a selection process. They start by giving kind of the designer an idea of what they're looking for, what their color palette is. and they run with it from there and bring it up to our architecture. Has been doing, this for a long time. We have a lot of base plans that we're all familiar with. You can take those base plans and flip them to create basically a semi-custom home that you are going to be very proud of. I mean, the houses are beautiful that we build, and I'm right up against the fence right now where I'm like, all right, I'm on the line. Am I going to sell my house? But I've moved so many times. My wife's not on board quite yet. I'll keep working on her, and we'll see what happens. But the guys are very organized out in the field, and having people that I've been in the industry for 20 years. I'm very good at multitasking. At least I self-proclaimed I'm a master of multitasking. Of course, some people say, well, you're not a master of any if you can't just focus on one thing. But if you go to a house and you have 30 homes going at any given time, we have a process down that's scheduled to just make sure everything is flowing seamlessly. Of course, you do have hiccups when you're running into manpower issues from different vendors and different people like that. But letting it go across the board and just staying on top of things and making sure the home is ready for the next vendor in line is the ideal way to build.
And so, Joe, you alluded to this a couple of times about the way in which the industry has changed, both in price and availability of products and the ability to create these homes that you guys are doing. But for you personally, what has this been like from March until now, September? What has the industry been like for you? Because we're on episode 6 or 7 of this, and it doesn't feel like you guys had maybe a little bit of a blip early on, but haven't had that blip going on through the summer. And for you personally, what's it like to run the logistics of all of the pieces that are moving right now?
So the guys that I deal with, all the construction managers, they're all they're doers. They're on the move nonstop. And when we had that shutdown for the building industry, construction industry, it was tough pill to swallow. So I'm sitting in an office trying to teach these guys who are wanting to be out there running around like, maniacs, for lack of a better term, to stay focused and teach them kind of different things about doing a pre-construction meeting virtually like we're doing now. I mean, this is something we're doing typically. So we're more face-to-face. It's a lot more fun to interact with the customer and be a chameleon and get to know the different personalities of the customer. It's harder to get that, what's the word I'm looking for? The upfront and the warm, cozy feeling when you shake a guy's hand and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about my family and their family and build that trust from the initial pre-construction meeting that you meet the homeowner for the very first time. So when it did shut down, just trying to learn different ways to do different things was a challenge. But overall, we got over it, and I think we got better from it.
And so, Joe, back to school has started, and for most people, they are still educating at home, at least for the foreseeable future, for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And one of the challenges that presents, which is why we're talking about this remodeling and maybe instead considering perhaps a new place to live, is if you have 2 parents that are working full-time and 2 children. I might know a guy who has this problem, right? And 2 children who are trying to do school full-time, and there isn't necessarily space for that. They have bedrooms, we have a bedroom, but we don't necessarily have 4 offices.
Right.
Enter Eastbrook Homes and your ability to kind of redesign spaces and these open environments that you can work in. Can you talk a bit about what that would be like and how that might fit the family of the future as we're dealing with what we're going into next? Because I feel, Joe, that you and I talking virtually will be a part of society going forward, even when we get back to shaking hands and the warm and fuzzy. And so with that, I feel like a lot of people now who don't have home offices might want one, pine for one, would love to have one, and maybe their house doesn't allow for it. So can you talk me through maybe what you're seeing stylistically about how design in homes, especially what Eastbrook is doing, does going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, I am at the forefront of that right now myself. I mean, I'm on the road, leave at 5:30 in the morning, get home at whenever I get home. My wife works full time. I have a junior in high school and I have a first grader. So we've had to take my oldest son's bedroom downstairs and kind of turn that into an office, and it's an office with a bed sitting behind it. It's not like I've had time to kind of get my hands in there and remodel myself. So we have noticed a lot of people that, like I talked about, semi-custom, you basically start with a base plan of the home. We have large rec rooms in our basement, a bathroom that's, you do it underground plumbing, or we finish that area. You have a bedroom down there. There's different rooms. A lot of people like to have the open floor plan, but we also offer, areas in the loft if you want to add not bifold doors, but frosted French doors or anything like that inside to be able to kind of give yourself a little seclusion from the chaos in the world. I have, my kids are going both 1 to 2 days a week live school, and then the remainder of it's virtual. So it's very interesting for the 7-year-old to try to sit here and look at his teacher on the computer, and he's wanting to run around like a maniac, just kind of chasing whatever he's chasing. And I have a hard enough time at night when it's him and I one-on-one teaching him that way. And he's like, yeah, Dad, let's go play catch.
Sure. I have a 4-year-old who's having a similar issue learning virtually, because it turns out 4-year-olds don't learn virtually very, very well, obviously.
No.
Well, so, so sticking with what this looks like, I know you're not in the sales role, but as far as the process goes, once my home gets to you, what does that look like? So let's say I decide that I would like to purchase a home in this neighborhood that's just up the street from here. What does that whole process look like? And perhaps how long does it take if I'm at the point where I'm going, I can't do this anymore. I need a house that works differently than my house currently does.
Right. I would say, from your initial appointment with sales to the end of the build, depending on what the season is, we say from the time it meets me till the time the home is completed in the wintertime, it's probably going to be an 8-month duration. We're only saying that right now because of the unknown and, the tile and material products that we're having shortages with. So we're padding that out to basically under promise and over deliver. It typically, back in the day, it was taking 5 months to build, 4 months to build from the time you break ground, backfill, start framing, and get it all the way to finish. But right now, I would guesstimate it's going to be roughly a year from the time you meet the salesperson. But like I said before, they meet with the customer. They give them our variety of 30 different floor plans. They can take those floor plans, move doors, move rooms, modify, do whatever you can. They have 5 or 6 different elevations to choose from, almost on each floor plan, and you do what you would like to make the home your own.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Joe, I won't keep you much longer. I just wanted to say, again, thank you for spending a couple minutes with us. I know you've got a ton of stuff, a ton of balls in the air that you're trying to manage, and I want to let you go do that. But if people want to reach out to Eastbrook Homes, what's the best way for them to do that?
We have a concierge website. You can go to www.eastbrookhomes.com. There's a little robot down in the corner that can answer your questions. They'll give you the salesperson's numbers. If you go to any of our communities, the salesperson numbers are up on the entries to each community where you can contact them directly. Or you can just call 616-455-0200, speak to our concierge, and she'll get you guided in the right direction.
Joe Gavitt from Eastbrook Homes. My friend, have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
And there he goes. A huge thanks to Joe Gavitt for joining us today talking about Eastbrook Homes. Again, if you want to reach out to Eastbrook Homes, the easiest way to do that is eastbrookhomes.com. I am Eric Hultgren, and this is the Michigan's Best Podcast. Have a great day, guys.